Jordan Peterson appeared on Jimmy Kimmel's stage with a calm demeanor, wearing a tailored suit and his trademark serious gaze. The audience gave polite applause, some unsure of what to expect. Kimmel greeted him with enthusiasm, trying to keep the mood light, but the atmosphere quickly shifted. After brief banter, Jimmy moved into questions about Peterson's controversial ideas. "So, you believe hierarchy is natural?" he asked, half joking. Peterson nodded. "Of course, it's biologically rooted." Kimmel quipped, "Sounds like a great excuse for the rich to stay rich." Peterson's eyes sharpened. "Or a reason to understand responsibility." The crowd tensed. Jimmy laughed nervously, unaware he had just stepped into Peterson's intellectual battlefield. The next question escalated tensions further. "What do you say to people who think your views are outdated and dangerous?" Kimmel asked. Peterson didn't flinch. "I'd say they haven't read my work," Jimmy smirked. "You don't think it's toxic to tell boys to be dominant?" Peterson's reply was instant. "Telling boys to be strong isn't toxic. Weak men are dangerous." The audience had mixed reactions. Some clapped, others booed. Kimmel tried to recover with humor, saying, "I guess we disagree on what strong means." Peterson countered, "Strength is not defined by public approval, Jimmy." The room felt colder. Even Kimmel's trademark grin began to fade. The clash wasn't just philosophical. It was personal now. As the segment continued, Kimmel brought criticism from academics who label Peterson's work as pseudoscience. "They say your psychology is cherry-picked," he added. Peterson replied sharply, "They say that because they can't debate it directly." Jimmy chuckled. "Or maybe, doesn't hold up?" Peterson's eyes narrowed. "Or maybe you're not equipped to judge the scientific validity of a field you don't study." The crowd oohed, unsure if it was entertainment or open hostility. Jimmy leaned back. "I'm just asking questions." Peterson replied, "No. You're assuming answers." The tension was now undeniable. Peterson wasn't a typical guest. He wasn't there to entertain. He was there to argue, and argue well. Kimmel, determined not to lose control of his show, changed topics to social media. "You've been banned a few times. Doesn't that say something?" Peterson calmly said, "It says censorship often replaces dialogue when ideas make people uncomfortable." Jimmy said, "Or maybe some things just shouldn't be said." Peterson fired back, "Then who decides that, Jimmy? You?" The host hesitated, then joked, "I guess I do tonight." Peterson smiled faintly. "That's tyranny disguised as charm." The room went silent. Kimmel wasn't laughing anymore. What began as light probing had become a full-blown philosophical confrontation. Peterson was composed. Kimmel was visibly rattled. Cameras kept rolling, but things were spiraling. In an attempt to diffuse the moment, Kimmel brought up gender, identity. "Why are you so obsessed with pronouns?" he asked. Peterson raised his eyebrows. "I'm not obsessed. I was compelled by law to use them. That's the issue." Kimmel said, "But how hard is it to just be kind?" Peterson leaned. "Kindness isn't obedience, it's honesty. And lies aren't kind." Jimmy interrupted, "But you're hurting people." Peterson's reply hit hard. "Truth sometimes hurts, but lies always destroy." The crowd gasped. Jimmy rubbed his forehead. "This isn't what I planned for tonight." Peterson shrugged. "Truth rarely fits into scripts." The host looked off camera, clearly signaling discomfort to the crew. The control was slipping. At this point, producers backstage were frantically signaling for a commercial break. But Peterson kept going. "You brought me here to mock, not understand," he said. Kimmel said defensively, "No, I brought you here to discuss." Peterson replied, "Then you should have read more than just tweets and headlines." That line stung. Jimmy stood up. "You don't get to insult my preparation." Peterson remained seated. "I didn't insult you. I critiqued your method." Jimmy, visibly frustrated, looked to his crew and said, "We're done." He turned to the audience. "Give it up for Jordan Peterson." But there was no applause. Peterson unclipped his mic, stood slowly, and walked off without looking back. The crowd sat in stunned silence. The moment immediately went viral. Clips of the exchange flooded every platform within minutes. Peterson destroys Kimmel trended alongside Jimmy kicks Jordan out. Commentators divided along predictable lines. Supporters of Peterson hailed his composure and clarity. Critics called him confrontational and cold. Kimmel's fans argued he was ambushed by a guest who didn't play by TV rules. Others said Jimmy asked loaded questions and got owned. Memes, think pieces, and heated debates filled the internet. News sites picked up the story within hours. Some praised Kimmel for standing up to a controversial figure. Others mocked him for losing control of his own show. By morning, it was everywhere. Political figures weighed in. Psychologists offered opinions. Comedians dissected the clash in podcasts. Colleagues from academia defended Peterson's style as direct, not disrespectful. Kimmel's network issued a generic statement. The show encourages diverse voices and spirited conversation. Peterson issued none. He posted a quiet tweet. Truth isn't always comfortable, but it's necessary. The tweet exploded. Thousands retweeted and commented, some supportive, some enraged. Kimmel's next episode opened with a monologue vaguely referencing fiery guests, but he avoided naming Peterson. Insiders leaked that future guest questions would now be more tightly scripted. The fallout had changed how the show handled polarizing figures. The entertainment world remained abuzz. Late-night talk shows were suddenly under scrutiny for how they treated controversial thinkers. Peterson declined further interviews, preferring independent platforms and lectures. Kimmel returned to safer topics, avoiding politics or psychology, for several weeks. Fans noticed. Some praised the shift. Others accused the show of retreating from challenge. For Peterson, the clash boosted his following. His next public talk sold out within hours. For Kimmel, it was a rare moment of vulnerability on live television. The showdown had become a cultural flashpoint, not because of shouting or chaos, but because it forced both sides to confront uncomfortable truths in a format built for comfort. Months later, the memory of the interview remained vivid. It became a case study in universities, a reference point in debates, a lesson in how truth and entertainment don't always mix. Kimmel regained his rhythm, but the shadow of that night lingered. Peterson continued writing, speaking, and refusing to conform to scripted expectations. The confrontation didn't end his career. It amplified it. Kimmel may have kicked him off, but Peterson left on his own terms, with his principles intact. Sometimes the most powerful moments on television come not from jokes but from the absence of one. And in that silence, something deeper speaks.